7 things. Count them. The Senate abolished. ICE abolished. Your borders abolished. Your prisons abolished. Eventually. Presidency replaced. The Supreme Court replaced. Every major company in this country owned by the state. That's not my list. That's their list, said out loud on national television 3 weeks ago by the national co-chair of an organization that already has a sitting member of Congress and the mayor of New York City inside it. And she didn't even blink. Not even once. Let's start here because this is the part that should actually terrify you. Not because it's shocking, but because it isn't anymore. Fox News Sunday, Shannon Bream is interviewing Megan Romer, national co-chair of the Democratic Socialists of America, the organization that includes sitting members of Congress and the current mayor of New York City. And Bream just asked. No gotcha, no trap. She reads DSA's own platform back to her, line by line. Abolish the Senate? True. Abolish ICE? Absolutely. Abolish the borders and give amnesty to anyone in the country illegally? As a long-term plan, yep. Defund the Pentagon? Replace the presidency and the Supreme Court? Abolish prisons? Eventually. Move most large corporations into public ownership? She didn't flinch once. Not one hedge word.
That are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay, replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And afterward, when a Democratic congressman got asked whether these are positions the party should embrace, you know what he said? We're a big tent party. A big tent. That's what we're calling it now. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I need to speculate about where a platform like that leads, because I don't have to speculate. I lived in a country, ran this experiment, a government with no real check on its own power, deciding who owns what, deciding who gets to live and who doesn't. We didn't call it a long-term plan. We just called it Tuesday. Now here's my favorite part of the week. And I promise I'm not making this up because I genuinely couldn't write it better if I tried. Mayor Mamdani's office just published a public database, 950,000 New York City properties, flagging anyone who might owe his new tax on second homes. Transparency, they called it. One of the names that showed up, Scott Galloway,
And I've been doxed.
New York University professor, podcast host, a guy who has spent a good chunk of the last year telling his audience how much he loves this tax. Then his own address popped up on the list. His words, not mine. I've been doxed. He called it a wanted poster. He even brought up a healthcare CEO who was murdered in the street as a warning about what happens when you point a target on people's backs. Scott, buddy, you cheered for the pitchforks. You just assumed they'd never turn around and point at you. This isn't a one-off, this is an entire exhaustive pattern every single time. The revolution is a beautiful idea, right up until the list has your name on it. Then there's Hasan Piker. A couple of weeks ago, Piker stood up in front of the College Democrats of America, wearing what multiple outlets identified as Zhongshan suit, the exact jacket style Mao Zedong made his personal uniform. He used the moment to rip into Democrats who compromise, who fund ICE, who fund Israel. Cute outfit choice for that speech, because days later, a clip resurfaced from a trip Piker took to China back in November. where he says, word for word, I never would and never will criticize Mao Zedong, and calls him one of the great leaders of this world. One of the great leaders of this world? I want to be direct for a second, because this isn't a bit to me. Mao's regime is responsible for tens of millions of deaths, the famine, the purges, the cultural revolution. That's not a hot take. That's the historical record. So when a guy puts that jacket on as a costume and calls that man a great leader, he's not being edgy. He's telling you he never had to sit with what that costume actually cost real people. I did. My family did. It's not a fashion statement where I'm from. And look, I almost didn't need the money angle, because the ideology alone should be disqualifying. But I cannot mention it because it's right there. Multiple outlets put his net worth somewhere between $4 and $10 million. A $2.7 million house in West Hollywood. A $200,000 Porsche. There's even a clip of him mid-tax, the rich chant, joking that maybe not too much because he might want to buy another house. Nothing says workers of the world unite quite like a Taycan in the driveway. Here's the thing. I know I've been having fun with this, and honestly, some of this is genuinely funny, but underneath the jokes, none of it is actually a joke to me. I'm not worried about these people because they're powerful. I'm worried because I've already watched a system built on exactly these promises, run by people exactly this confident, and I know how that story ends. Not in theory. I watched it end. So laugh at the Porsche, laugh at the Mao jacket, but don't stop paying attention, because the people saying this stuff aren't joking, even when it's funny. And if you want more of this, real reactions, not just hot takes, subscribe. And remember that God loves you. Let's get into it.
Catch the wave, let your dreams ignite. In the world of business, reach new heights. Join the journey, hear the words unfold. BamBam's vision, turning stories to gold.